All right, folks, so what we have is a 2019 Dodge Ram. Bought it brand new. As you can see, it doesn't fit in the garage. So I got the cab in and I put the garage door down on top of the bed. So we'll go in the garage here and I'll explain what we're doing. So, like I said, I got the cab in, put the door down on the bed, and tell you a little bit about this truck. I bought it 2019, like I said. First thing I did to it was get rid of these clear turn signals on the mirrors. I hate them. So they had these smoked ones with LEDs in them. Popped those out, changed them. What else have I done? Well, I just had so after 3 years of driving it bone stock, I had a exhaust leak and I could hear it. So I took it down. They took off the stock muffler. I said, just throw something on there. And they threw a Flowmaster on it, which sounds great. So it's a little bit loud. My neighbors are kind of close, so we did that. Put the muffler on. They fixed the other exhaust leaks. I still have a right side passenger exhaust leak on the header or the exhaust manifold. So I'm going to be putting headers on it. That's still to come. And I got 67,000 miles out of these Bridgestone tires. These are the Dueler HLs, and they are, I believe, 275. There it is. 275 55/20s stock rims. And this is the 1500 Bighorn edition. So let me turn the radio off there. It's the Bighorn edition, 1500. So it's time for tires. Well, I wanted to get bigger tires. I figured I'd just wear these out first. So it's been 3 years. Like I said, I got 67,000 on it. And I think I'm going to be able to get 100,000 out of my brakes. They are still like I barely wore them. So, which brings us to what happened now. So I get in order to get bigger tires in here, you got to do the leveling kit. So I ordered a 3-inch in the front, 2-inch in the rear leveling kit. I got the upper control arm separate, which gives you the proper angle for your top ball joint there on the knuckle. As you can see, it gives it a pretty nice angle. The stock ones that were on there were just, it was a mess. It had a hell of a pivot point there. So I did that too. Just so you guys know, I'm 50 years old, so I'm getting old. And this almost killed me doing this on the front. So I got it all done. I didn't do the rear, not yet. I wish I would have filmed this, but I just decided I'm gonna start posting these videos. So, I did not do the rear, but I put a 3-inch in the front, which I don't think it's actually 3 inches. The puck that goes on top of there is just barely showing like a quarter of it. So if I have to guess, it's probably 2.5 inch or something like that. But it did bring the front of the truck up 3 inches. So brought that up 3 inches. I actually took one of these small levels and I put it on the windowsill on the driver's window. I put it right on there and I put it on the bed. And without doing the rear, the truck is perfectly level and the bubble is dead center in the middle. So I don't know if I'm going to do the rear or not. I'm going to see what size tires I can fit. I'd like to go 35s, but we shall see. So I'm going to take it down when I get this other issue I'm going to deal with now, the CV axle. As soon as I get that done, I'll take it down and I'm going to let the tire guys take some measurements, because it's with the stock rims. It's probably, if I had to guess, it's this. The upper control arm is about 1 inch to 1.25 inches from the tire itself. And with the stock rims being 8 inch, or I think they're 8 inch or 10 inch. Anyway, with the stock rims, that's pretty close. So I may not be able to go wider, because I really like the stock rims and I don't want to change them out. I don't want to pay for rims. I'm cheap. So, which is why I'm doing this myself. So I said all that to say this. When you're doing these, you gotta be very careful when you're putting the bottom of that strut in. All right. No problems on this side. Very, very clean. Everything came out perfect. But over here on the passenger side, we had an issue. I did the strut on this side, on the right side, and drove it for 2 days. And then, I don't know if you guys can see that. Not sure what you can see there, but putting that lower strut on the lower control arm, as you can see, that I must have nicked the boot or something, because all the grease come blowing out all over the place. So I ordered a CV axle. Maybe I'll rebuild that axle and keep it as a spare in case I have another issue. But I ordered a new one. It's gonna be easier just to swap it in and out than it is to try and repair it. So what I'm doing now, because I was in a big hurry so I could go to work the next morning, is I put all this together, put it on, and I just hit it with the impact gun, put some Ugga-Duggas on it, and that was it. So now I'm going back in. I'll start with this side, which doesn't have the issue. And I've loosened everything back up. I have the weight of the vehicle on the jack. I have another stand that's probably a 1/2 inch from the frame, so I know I have all the weight of the vehicle on the suspension on this side here. And with all the weight of the vehicle on there, I should be able to go ahead and torque everything with the weight of the vehicle on, put the wheel on, set it down on the ground, and I shouldn't have to worry about trying to torque this with it on the ground and getting in the wheel well. I should be able to do it with the weight of the vehicle on the jack, pushing up on it just like on the tire, and torque everything like this instead of having to reach around and not getting much action with the torque bar, with the torque wrench on the with the wheel in place. So that's where we're at right now. So let's torque it and move over to the other side so you can see the massive destruction of that CV boot that let the grease go everywhere. All right, see you in a minute. All right, so before we start, I went on the internet, the wonderful interwebs, and I printed out the front suspension torque specs for my year truck, and it has them all listed here. Let's see if I can find what website this is. Not sure. But you can find them. They're on there if you just Google them. So we're going to start here with the tie rod. And it gives you how to switch them out and everything, but I don't need that. I just need 22 foot-pounds plus 90 degrees, which is a half turn. So we're going to start there and torque this guy up. 22 foot-pounds. I think it's kind of light, but I don't know. That's what they say. So we'll torque it the way it's supposed to be, and then we'll go from there and move on to the next one. All right. I don't have a torque wrench that goes down that low, but I got one that goes to 30. So I put it at 30, and it's a 3/8 socket, so I got to use the adapter on it. There we go. We're going to go 30 inches. So we go on 30 inches on that. And a little bit, maybe a quarter turn. So we'll call that 22 plus a half a turn. So we'll just call that 30 inches, or 30 foot-pounds, sorry. And we'll move on to the next one, which will be the upper control arm, the ball joint there on the knuckle. And we'll get that one next. Okay, here's the next one. Upper ball joint knuckle torque is 40 pounds plus 180, which is a half a turn. So which 40 foot-pounds. So let's do that. So it's 40 foot-pounds plus 180, so a half a turn. Let's see how we do. Okay. So for the upper arm frame bolt torque specs, 130 foot-pounds. Mine jumps from, where's it at? There it is. Mine jumps from 120 to 140, so I went to 120. And I brought it around to 0, and that should be 130. So, there's 30 foot-pounds, or 130, sorry. And with the weight of the vehicle on the suspension, let's see if we can do this. Oh. At least I hope I got the right. I don't think I got the right socket. Be right back. Oh, what do you know? I didn't have the right one. 21 up here. Okay. Try this again. 21, 130 foot-pounds. There's 130. Let's Go to this side. And $130. Give me my wrench back. So, upper control arm all torqued with the weight of the vehicle on it. And see what else we got. And the outer tie rod, we did that. The outer tie rod was 22 foot-pounds plus 90 degrees. Well, I did 30 and like a quarter, so we should be close. All right. So this side looks like it's done. Oh, there are torque specs for the front upper frame bolt, the stabilizer link. We got 22 and 75. Yeah, I think we did that when we put it back together. We didn't torque it, but they're tight. Stabilizer end link, control arm nut. That's the one underneath. And then the link bar nut torque is very light. It's only 20 foot-pounds. I'm gonna have to get another torque wrench so I can get that spectrum. So let's put the wheel back on and go from there. So in preparation for getting big tires, I'm gonna take this mud flap off because everybody says you gotta clearance that. So let's do that. Here's one. There's two. Any other let's see if we can see what we can do here. Be right back. Okay, lesson learned. This lower one that goes here is just a plastic push-in, and they break when you pull them out. So we will take more care on the other side, and we'll just zip tie it up for now. We're gonna start these by hand. On our lowest setting, just to torque them up. They weren't that tight to begin with. And I guess we'll run a zip tie on that one for now. We'll be back in a minute. Well, like I said, we'll just run a zip tie around there for now until we get it back. And we'll nip it off. Okay, let's put the wheel back on. And get this mud guard over here. And go from there. Okay, always start your sorry about that. Start your lug nuts by hand, and then we're gonna torque them. I'll look on that sheet and see what the torque specs are. I like to spin it a little bit just to get everything down into place. See how you spin it, and that'll get all those lug nuts started. And then we'll take the put some Ugga Duggas on it. Yeah, it's pretty worn out. And there you go. We'll set it on the ground and torque them. See if it gives me front shock, wheel control arms, steering, wheel hub and knuckle, front wheel axle torque nut, bearing hub bolt specs, brake caliber. All right, well, I think it should be around 120 or something like that. So we'll check it out and see what we find. Okay, as you can see, this side's all done, everything torqued like it should be, and setting back on the ground. It's getting chilly in here. I got a little bit of fire left. We'll get some wood and throw it in there. So this is what happens when your CV boot gets a hold of it, gets a hole in it or whatever. You can see the grease all over the inside of the wheel, all over inside of the wheel well. You see there's grease on absolutely everything, and it's that black grease, and it's just on everything. You guys can see that. Get some light over here. It's just absolutely everywhere. And it looks like, I'm gonna guess, the hole is right here where all that grease is oozing out. So I don't know if that's the band clamp or the boot. Now I'm looking at it, I'm like, you know, just put a new clamp on it. We'll have to inspect it when we get it all cleaned up. And just piles of grease all in here and just splattered on everything. So we'll get that all cleaned up and we'll check back with you, and we'll give it a good shot of brake clean and just wipe everything down, because there is grease on everything. See if we can't get it cleaned up here a little bit, and we'll go from there once I get it all wiped down. There is grease everywhere. It just spun it out all over the place. So let's get this cleaned up, and all that crap just went everywhere. I'm guessing right there is the hole. Right there. See it? Maybe it did just come out of the clamp. Maybe the clamp loosened up and just spun it out. Either way, I got a new axle coming. A new CV axle. I'm just going to swap it out. It'll be easier than trying to repair it. And they're like $100. So we'll see how long it lasts. At least it'll last long enough for me to have time to repair the one I took out and repack it. And we'll go from there. All right, see you in a bit. Okay, throw the log on the wood stove. See where we're at. Good working temp, about 63 in here. So, where we left off, everything was a mess. So, that's a 1 3/8 inch, half-inch drive. So I'll put the big M28 Milwaukee on it, spin that off. Got this all cleaned up a little better. It's still got some, but I'm not, if everything's got grease on it, it can't rust, right? So when I was driving home Saturday night, I kept smelling grease. And I couldn't figure out where that was coming from. And when I got home, I crawled under it, and then I seen the CV boot had sprung a leak. So what I think I was smelling was the grease was slinging all up in here and on the arm. But the exhaust manifold is right there. So I think it was getting just a little bit, just a couple spritz of grease on it. It was burning, and I was smelling it driving down the road. So we got most everything cleaned up, except for underneath. I'm gonna wait till I get the axle out, and this knuckle, I'll roll it forward, and then I can get in there and clean. So we got the wheel speed sensor here disconnected, and let me show you. I think I found the hole in the boot. And it's really small, but let's see if I can zoom in. It don't take much. You see that right there? That's where the big glob of grease was all over the, and you see there's a pinch right there. I must have just nicked it. There's another little nick right there, but as far as I can tell, that's the only place. So I must have just barely nicked it. And, but it was enough. It was enough to make a mess anyway. And there it is. So it was just, you can see right below that little wrinkle in the boot. You can see a little bit of grease still coming out of there, just turning it by hand. So that was the damage, and it ain't much. And you can see the piles of grease that came out of that little tiny hole, and it took 2 days for it to show up. So if you got to do a CV axle, or you do something with your front end, as you can see, I still have piles under there, but I'll get the axle out first, and then try to clean that up. Meanwhile, I can torque the top control arm because I have the weight on the jack on the bottom control arm, and I have probably, like I said, a 1/2 inch between the frame and the jack stand, so all the weight's on right here, and I just have it up a little bit just to have all the weight on here when you torque these. Like I said, I was in a hurry, so I just put the impacts on everything, and I think I wrenched those by hand with my 1/2 inch, and took off because I had work next morning. The inside of the wheel is covered, absolutely covered in grease. So I'll clean that up before it goes back on. But we're gonna go ahead and get started on this, and we'll get back to you. Okay, show you where we're at. We got that top knuckle on the upper control arm loose. Spun the nut all the way down, left a few threads on there. We got the steering link. And we got those sorry, I was just looking at something. We got those tie rod. We got the tie rod off the front for the steering. So that's off. And put the nut bag on there so we protect those threads. We got a couple threads left on there. And I'm going to spin this CV axle nut off. This is a 1 3/8 inch socket. Milwaukee M28. And that's how we do that. So now we have our axle free. I'm gonna put this back on, give it a couple love taps just to set the splines loose, and then we'll move to the inside and pry bar the inside spline off of that CV axle. And you can see it moved. So we're free out here, and we'll move to the inside. I did torque these top A-frame, top control arm frame bolts, 130 on both of those with the jack on it, keeping weight on it, just like it was sitting on the ground. And I was able to torque those top two, and now I'm just gonna see if I can break this. Wow, that's really tight. Break this top knuckle loose. Boom. I think I'm gonna just brush a really light coat of Never Sees on them when I put it back on. So that's loose. We got our axle loose. It's good. Steering link, ball joint off. We took our speed sensor off. We'll get back to you in a few minutes. Okay, we're back. We just need to go underneath and pop the CV axle off of the drive unit. Try and spin this out. There we go. So I still have my jack stand back here, but I have all the weight on here. So we are gonna go up under here. Okay, there it is, I see it. We're gonna see if we can spin this over. See if we can. There's a C-clip inside that on the spline. There's a C-clip, and just need to pop this off. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this holding a Yeah, I may have to put you guys down and try this without holding a phone. I'll be back.